99.3 Nigeria Info Lagos. Good morning to you. Welcome to the second part of Dailies today. And yes, we're live from our audio-visual studios on Etimi and Crescent Victoria Island, Lagos, Nigeria. I'm Sheriff Quadry.
I'm Jimi.
Right, let's begin. Let's start with the Vanguard newspaper. More Nigerians will become poor by 2027, World Bank.
When I saw this morning, my heart skipped a beat. So maybe the prayer, when we are saying prayers in church today, tell your pastor to pray that it will not be your portion to be amongst those who will be poorer by 2027. But then you'll ask yourself, so whose portion will it be? This is the home truth telling us, forget propaganda. This is coming from the World Bank. Whose role, in my view, whose role in making us poorer by the day is suspect. But that's both IMF and World Bank. I don't have any confidence in them. The mandate that they set for themselves, the Western world set for themselves, they're achieving it a lot. To keep, I don't want to use the N word, but to keep them poorer by the day. It is my belief. It's not a matter for argument or analysis. I believe Nigeria, I was one of those, way back in 1985, we've been on this IMF World Bank thing. And somehow I found myself attending the World Bank IMF meeting in 85 or 86. Even sat next to, a gentleman showed up next to me and said, good morning, Mr. Disu. I looked, I don't know him. A man says, I'm A.W. Clausen, president of the World Bank. That was when a lot of pressure was being put on Babangida. And what they advised Babangida way back then is what we are suffering till now. The question is, have we gotten out of this mentality that the World Bank and the IMF are in a position to tell us how best we can get out of the economic hardship that we're in, for want of a better word? And to ask yourselves, whose benefit would it be to have a prosperous Nigeria and Africa? Think it out yourselves. Think it out yourselves. This senior prefect mentality is not going to get us anywhere. And I also have a feeling, these are feelings that I have, they might be right, they might be wrong. I also have a feeling that it's difficult to convince me that the Western world has not been responsible for us having less than capable leaders in this country. I believe so. Because if you look at the leadership of a country like Nigeria, I'm sorry, I'm not going personal on anybody, but it's time again to tell ourselves some home truths. If you look at the leadership we've had, you keep asking yourself, what is wrong? Where have we gone wrong? A country of 200 and something million people, we can't bring out our first, second, and third 11? We've marched again to the World Bank and we've come back with the results. And when these things come, I remember there was a report one time, I don't know which of those two bodies said that by 2015, Nigeria will disintegrate, as if it was a Marshall Plan. And since then, we have had no peace. Though the World Bank now says that it has projected, they are now playing God. It has projected that poverty will increase by 3 percentage points in 5 years to 2027. The World Bank made this projection in its Africa Pulse report released on the sidelines of the ongoing spring meetings of the IMF and the World Bank in Washington, D.C. The report, among other information, painted a dire picture of poverty in Nigeria, noting that while economic activity has shown some positive signs, the underlying challenges associated with resource dependence and fragility are projected to escalate poverty levels, demanding focused and effective governance reforms and inclusive economic policy. Remember that those who have stolen our money, a lot of them who have been in part of the money lies down there in the Western world mainly. So as far as I'm concerned, some countries in the Western world are receivers of stolen goods. And then When they take a fraction of it to give back to you, they give it back to you with conditions. It's time for us to wake up. Keep your eyes on what is going on, for example, in Burkina Faso. Nigerians need to wake up very quickly. A word is enough for the wise. The report, among other information, painted a dire picture of poverty in Nigeria, noting that while economic activity has shown some positive signs, the underlying challenges associated with resource dependence and fragility are projected to escalate poverty levels, demanding focused and effective governance reforms and inclusive economic policies. There's a World Bank IMF meeting going on. I think the Minister of Finance is there. The Governor of the Central Bank is there. What is going on through their minds? When they pick up their call after every session in the evening to call the president to give him report, which is what I expect. If it doesn't happen, that's another story entirely. What do they tell him? What do they tell him? If you have a leadership, for example, when you want to go for a retreat and think about, you hop on a plane and go to the Western world, what does that tell you? The report indicates that poverty rates in resource-rich, fragile countries, including Nigeria, are expected to increase by 3.6 percentage points between 2022 and 2077, making it the only group in sub-Saharan Africa with a projected rise in poverty. I'm not even going to read this again. It's not something palatable to take in on a weekend. What I would say, though, is Nigerians must get ready to rescue themselves from the clutches of these things. Just about hard enough. If from 1985 this had been World Bank policy, because Babangida took a lot of advice from them and didn't take the loan, and we've been the worse off for it. Babangida too, way back then, in one first swoop overnight, just like it happened in the case of President Bola Tinubu, crashed the exchange rates. Have you ever heard that being done in any of the European countries or in the States? Nigerians must wake up and Africa must wake up. A major problem is that the kind of resources that we have every day are being shipped out of our country. And you remember the oil windfall?
The windfall, yeah.
About $1 billion. Wafuka. The rumor had it then that the gentleman who was in charge drank a cup of tea. So for you younger people, you need to check out where we are coming from. And this is not a game. Because we are a nation where somehow we are lucky enough, we have this African thing being like looking out for ourselves. You can go to brother. If brother becomes a commissioner, if somebody becomes honorable, you can. Because we have all that, it has belied the seriousness in determining who governs us. We just take it for granted. And religion has also done its own damage. I'm not chastising religion, no, I'm a Christian, but I'm very clear-headed. But we need to wake up to the reality. Like they say, we need to smell the coffee and don't think it is tea. What
I'm smelling the coffee.
we want to smell the coffee. Meanwhile, it's a cocoa drink that will send you to sleep. Anyway, a bit of something bright that is happening here. The World Bank has admitted Dangote into private sector investment lab. And listen, the IMF urges Nigeria to increase tax revenue. You know, in these hard times, to increase tax revenue and tackle evaders. Very soon, some people will blatantly not just pay tax and be ready to go to jail. The rate at which we are going. The tax man will show up. He will just say, carry me. At least if I'm in jail, government will feed me. Yes. Because see, Sheriff, there are many people I know, a few people that I know, even in a neighborhood here in VI. They live in luxurious houses, nice houses, they have 4 cars parked under the carport, everything. They can't buy 10 liters of petrol. You go around their houses, you think they've gone on summer. It's a lie. They are inside. They only put the candle in their bedroom. They can't even run a generator. So the tax man is going to have a very big problem. Some people will just say, carry me, go. Oh, yeah.
Let's go to our next story. This next story is on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. Obrewore, others defection. We are not bothered. PDP LP Atiku's coalition.
Fella had one very famous song, Shakara Oloji. and all this is just to garner the troops, so that they don't. The truth is that Ganduje has said it. More governors are joining us soon. Is it? More governors are joining us soon. Ganduje. So, if they say they are not bothered, I don't think so. I'm asking myself, why don't Atiku and all the other, the Atiku, the PDP, all of them, go and join the APC? And use whatever strength they can to scatter the presidency bid of President Bola Tinubu. Because really, whether you like it or not, for 2027, the issue is not APC or Labour or whatever. The issue is, do you want Asiwaju Bola Tinubu Ahmed to be your president for a second term? So I'm asking myself, would it not have been better if all of us joined the APC? Yes, it's a tactics, because the way it's going, there'll be very few people left. Yes. When I think of the PDP in Lagos, the only name that keeps popping up is Chief Bodejo. I wonder, who else do I know? All my friends, Daramola, all of them, I don't know where they are. Shele, all these people, I don't know where they are. So anytime I think of PDP, once I say Chief Bodejo, then it's the only name that I know. He's the last man standing. Apologies to him. So they say that they are not bothered. The Atiku, there's what they now call the Atiku coalition, which is not a good name to give that coalition, because why don't they give it something else? So it makes it look as if anybody who is in the Atiku coalition is a supporter of Atiku for president. And that's not a good way to start any union.
I think that's just a name given to it by, or is that the official name? I'm
reading the newspaper, Mr. Sheriff. Quadry, SAN. Sorry. We are not distracted. Atiku coalition. They say the anti-Tinubu coalition led by former Vice President Atiku expressed indifference. So you either call them anti-Tinubu coalition or you Atiku coalition. The Labour Party says that defections is a mockery of democracy. That's the way they describe it. CUPP, Coalition of United Political Parties. Which party is this? I'm hearing of them for the first
Coalition of CUPP. Oh, they've been around. There are many political parties together.
Like Americans would say, never heard of them. And they say that on its part, said it would take the collective will and the determination of Nigerians to end the cycle of political rascality among the political class. I'm going to be very, very honest. Our people are not ready and don't have the resolve to push for what they want. They are ready to take anything that is thrown at them that can satisfy their immediate needs. That's why the politicians will always lead. And that's why I can assure you that 2027, unless something happens from God, is a done deal. Unless God intervenes. Senator Nwoko says that it's a new dawn for Delta. All their big boys are now in APC. Those of them who have cases with the EFCC and so on and so forth, they've all run to the APC for cover. Who wouldn't? If you have a case of something trillion against you, and you know that if you can join the APC, your sins are forgiven. Yes, you jump. So that's where we are. The other story here is that angry workers shot FCTA secretariat over minimum wage. And it says that the Federal Capital Territory, the NLC, shot the secretariat of the Federal Capital Territory the government hasn't paid the 70,000 agreed minimum wage as yesterday. The government hasn't paid the agreed, but they've been able to rally around and get money for solar. I don't know whether the vice president has moved into his new house. I don't know if they've bought a new plane, bought a new car, but they haven't yet paid the 70,000 minimum wage that was agreed.
They haven't.
What kind
Since last year, I think.
What kind of a country is this? You see, what baffles me is that brazen. You haven't paid what you've agreed with workers. You haven't paid them.
I really do not know how.
I don't get it.
I don't know how civil servants have been surviving. I don't know.
That is why there's corruption. Do you think there's any top civil servant, even middle level, who depends on his salary? A permanent secretary cannot live in a 3-bedroom apartment in Bode Thomas and send 2 of his children to school, with the legitimate earnings. Yes, now, check it out. Corruption now is people even pray. The pastors even pray for you. When you get appointments, they thank God. They hope you'll be useful to your people. They hope you'll be able to buy a new car. They expect you to come. It's a given. Because in the first instance, there's the theory I've always said about beg, borrow, or steal. If a man has a statutory responsibility to meet, he either begs, he borrows, or he steals.
Yes.
Beg, borrow, or steal. Say you tell your son that he can't go to school because government has not paid minimum wage. We have a long way to go. Sheriff, why did I come to work today?
It's Friday. That's why.
Jimi.
Friday.
Like they say, it's all right.
I have this message here. Let me see if I can still locate it. Quite a number of messages. From, I think it's something fake site. And it says, Nigerians will never wake up until we tackle the connivance between politicians, the elites, and the religious leaders. The sentiments we hold on religion and ethnicity still continue to hold us down.
And the civil servants.
And the civil servants.
You must add that
Yes,
one. That is a conspiracy between the politicians, the civil servants, the elites, and now we have to include the traditional rulers. Because some of them are even worse off than the politicians. Yes. How can I, in any situation, be a traditional ruler, sheriff, and have the thought process that would make me go and drive around in a Rolls Royce in a poverty-stricken country? Come on. What is it that I said President Blade, Captain Blade said the other day that, is it nonendo, what did he say?
Innuendos?
No, he said that maybe we swallowed something.
Oh, nanobots.
Our people have swallowed. They have. I don't get it. And every time, I keep thinking, when I look at the social media, for example, and I see, okay, so fine, you are well off, fine. Must you rub it down people's faces? It's amazing. I was having an argument with my friend who's been in the States for 25 years. He said he thought that everything was nice and people were enjoying themselves. I thought I would see you in one of those videos. I said, Mike, where would that come from? It's amazing.
There's this thing I tweeted some days ago, and I looked at a couple of events unfolding, especially in the wake of this gale of defection and everything. And I'm seeing another comment here on WhatsApp by Ayobami. Ayobami says, I mean, it aligns slightly with what I said. It says, why does it look like the current political play is tending towards the North against the South, or the South against the North? And that might be the card that would be played in the coming election. Do you feel so?
No, it is the politicians versus the people. See, when they are in their political circles, you'll be hearing, My brother from another mother. Don't you see at National Assembly, somebody from Delta State will say, my brother from the senator, this. My brother from the or what you were wanting. They will pray together. Christian Muslims, they pray together. They will eat together. Nigerians' number one enemy, the way I'm beginning to think about it, which is my personal view, is that a lot of our politicians have become enemies of the state. And they are in the way of our development. And it is my view. Nigerians should know who their enemies are. I believe that a lot of politicians, not all, but a lot of them are enemies of the state and are standing in the way of the progress of our people. What do our people want? Something very simple. Minimum wage of what can 70,000 naira even buy now? You're not even paying it. I went to buy amala yesterday.
Amala?
Yes, in plastic. It's not as if I didn't go for lunch. I thought amala take away.
Okay.
And two measly looking goat meat. It was almost about 3,000 something. That's one meal. Because when we talk about these things, let nobody think that, oh, these people are, I don't know about Sheriff.
We are the same. Now why are you pushing me away?
but we feel it.
Yes, we do.
We feel it. Do you know how many people you have to give money left, right, and center on a daily basis? Yet we are traveling, we keep wasting money. At the slightest opportunity, we are wasting a lot of money. President is coming, the whole cabinet drives to the airport. Every inch of the way, money is being wasted as if it's business as usual. Yet, or like my Ijesha Imam would say, still yet, we are not paying. Next story.
Let's move on to our next story. 7:53 from our studios here. Good morning if you're just joining us. Let's start with this one. Payo Adebanjo to be buried May 3. We have another story on that page. Over 31,000 students failed 2024 WASC in Lagos despite 1.5 billion naira funding.
When you say WASC, people won't get it. What it means is that in Lagos language, local language, 31,000 students failed WAEC. Despite the fact that the government spent 1.5 billion naira buying their forms and whatever. So this is what I say. And I'm glad the Commissioner for Basic and Secondary Education, Mr. Jimi Alibalogun, I'm glad he expressed this himself. The state needs to go back to the drawing board. This kind of result is not good at all. Gone were the days. I remember good old days in King's College. They will present 60 students. About 45 or close to 48 will be grade 1. Back in the day, maybe only 1 or 2 failures. You understand what I'm saying? This is a terrible record. 31,596 failed the WAEC exam. Maybe what we should do is there was something we used to do. I don't know if it still happens. Maybe we should have these mock exams. Okay? Schools should set up.
Don't they still do it?
I don't know. If you don't pass mock, you don't go for WAEC. It used to be like that back in the day. There were so many things that were put in front of students to urge you. Okay? And I didn't quite get the feel. I went to comprehensive high school at Etoru for my A-levels. Unfortunately, as I speak, I don't know in full what the whole policy about a comprehensive school is, because I would like a system where from maybe GS3, GS3, the SS1, from GS3, we know whether you can bet. It's not every student that can pass WAEC that can go further. Let them go for other training. Don't let's keep pushing people. We keep pushing them. Of course, you also know what goes into all these WAEC exams and so on and so forth. No. If you can't benefit from formal education, I'm sure you will have some other skills that can be tapped into. So I would like to, Mr. Jimi Alibalogun is publicly invited to our program. I'll get in touch with him privately also, but public, just so that he gets to know, to come and explain to us what really is going down here and what the state intends to do about it.
Okay.
This is a lot of money, 1.5 billion. Minus a lot of money. To have 31 students fail WAEC. 31 teenagers roaming the streets with no WAEC. There's a problem. And we'd like Mr. Jamiu Aliba Logun to please, I wanted to say, please step forward. We'll get our friend to bring him to bring
Okay,
him down.
All right. Then Paddy Banjo to be buried.
Yes, Paddy Banjo is going to be buried on the 3rd of May. Of course, it's going to be buried in Isonya Obo, near Ijebu-Ode in Ogun State. There'll be a Christian wake on Friday, May 2, and on Saturday, May 3, will be the burial, and then there'll be Thanksgiving on the 4th of May. The story doesn't say anything about socials, though.
Okay.
During the Jejemus is also very, very important.
Maybe intentionally just decided to be quiet.
The boys will know where they
Exactly.
They will know where
exactly.
the Adibandos are not going to get away with that. Go and buy more cows. But a man of his stature, really, they'll almost be able to open the cattle ranch with the kind of cows and what they'll.
Let's take this story here, which is very weird. Insecurity, man cries out as wife gets missing from hospital bed.
This story shocked me this morning, and I said I'll bring it to your attention very quickly. The man, Mr. Naji, an Igbo indigene, his residence in Maiduguri, he has declared his wife missing from a private hospital in Port Harcourt. She was allegedly attacked by gunmen suspected to be Boko Haram insurgents. She's a banker and an advocate of girl child education. Long story short, she was admitted into a hospital in Port Harcourt. She had to run from there in Port Harcourt, and then all of a sudden now she has gone missing. It sent a lot of chills down my spine. It shows you the kind of country that you are living in. This is an indication. All of us need to be careful. And they made 2 failed attempts on her life. She was forced to abandon her husband and other family members. She escaped from her husband's house in Shagari low-cost housing in Borno State and fled to her sister's house in Port Harcourt for safety. And now she's missing. They can't even find her.
All right. On that note, we have to go. Bashali, maybe we'll take your story some other time.
He's making an attempt to.
Yeah.
With the Guinness Book of Records.
Indeed. Well, we must go now. You're back at 9?
Yeah, I'm back at 9.
Lagos, thank you so much for being a part of the show today. We're back on Tuesday for a fresh week edition of the Dailies today from 7:30 to 8. Meanwhile, Dailies today actually starts at about 6:10 or thereabout after the news at 6, so you can join the newspaper analysis with Kofi Bartels. Then in the meantime, we hand you back to the same Kofi Bartels to wrap up on the Morning Crossfire. Stay here, please.
.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's